Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining from. Thank you all for being here. I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat and some new ones, as always. Good to see where everybody is joining from. I know I always get questions about how the map works, so I can talk a little bit about that because I did make a couple of changes to it, which I know somebody in there noticed. I saw a comment. And as always, I don't really have much of a plan today other than talking about what's been going on in my world of live streaming, and I can talk about the live show that I know I saw some of you at on Thursday from San Francisco on the YoloBox. I'll talk about that. Always happy to answer questions as always, and if you do have a question for me, make sure you mention my full name. Actually, it's getting a little bit complicated to even follow those, so if you use the word question or Q at the beginning of your message, that puts it into a separate column here for me to see so that I can get to the questions better. So yeah, just make sure you mention question at the beginning and that'll sort it properly for me. I've got, we can talk about the map to start off with. It's kind of fun. I did do some changes to it. Actually about a half hour ago, I was, as always, it's always a great idea to change things about your live show right before going live. But hey, it did work. So I was pleased about that. Also, I had a very easy way to sort of roll back if I didn't want to change that. But what I did was I was like, it would be fun if I could have the map look more like my channel colors. So I've been kind of working on updating the theme of my channel to take advantage to use the color theme that I've got more often. So I've got the I updated my channel header, I updated my profile photo. Although I did one more tweak, I fixed my skin tones a little bit, so I need to update that again. But I've been using these red, green, and blue on my thumbnails for a long time, so I put that into the header. And then I was like, oh, it'd be pretty fun if the map also matched. And so what I did was I was like, well, I'm already using Google Maps, and I know they have a custom map capability to customize what goes into the map. So if I show you I can just scroll back here to the live stream that we're in the middle of. And so what I did was just very quickly went in and made a couple of custom tweaks to the styling in the maps, and I turned the water the specific blue that is the same as this blue. I turned the land all this same green. I wanted to make these borders that red, but I couldn't figure out how to do it, and I haven't updated the pins yet either. Like I said, I literally just did this. So I'm going to spend more time on it because map design is actually like an entire field of research, and it's a skill, and there's a lot of things that go into picking the right colors, and this isn't quite right. I feel like the land is a little bit too bright compared to the water. I'm not sure if it's bright or more saturated compared to the water, or maybe it's not saturated enough compared to the water. Anyway, it's a whole thing. So I'm gonna go in and make more tweaks to it, but let me see if I can pull up the Google console for doing that, because it is kind of cool. The way that it works in Google, if I can remember which project it's in, and I think it's this one, the one that is just called My Project. And yes, okay, so here is the Google Maps console for it, and you go in here, you can customize a style, and then you can say, okay, I want, for example, I turned off all of the text. So if I wanted to turn back on text labels like country names, I can go in here and put country names back on the map, and then I can make them, instead of black, which definitely looks weird, I might change the color to white. And that looks a little better. Now I've got country names on the map. Cool. And then you can go in and change like the watercolor. So I can say that I turned off the names of the water. The water names are the oceans, which I didn't feel like were particularly helpful, so I turned those off. And then the color of the water is this blue, which I just lifted right off of my branding colors, which it's not quite right, but also like look how weird the map looks if you get the color of the water wrong. Like, it just completely throws off everything. So I can't tell if it needs to be just a little bit darker and less saturated. That's actually pretty good. Definitely getting overall darker. It's interesting. It's really interesting to see what the color changes of maps do to how you perceive the map. So I like that. I'll save that. I think it's a little bit nicer when it's a little darker. Publish that, and the next time I load that map on the stream, it will now be different colors, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so once you do this, you get like a little ID for this style, and then you can use that ID in your JavaScript when you are making the maps. So that's the custom map thing, and then the way that the rest of it works is complicated. So too much to go into. I should at some point. It's like a whole coding tutorial, really, because it goes and talks to the YouTube API to pull messages. It goes through the geocoder to try to find where the places are that people are saying. I did actually publish this as a open source project in case anybody does want to see it, to try to use it. It's not well packaged by any means, but if I go and search my GitHub for YouTube, here is the YouTube chat map plugin, and I can drop that into the chat. And this is not the custom style. This is just going to be default, but you can customize it with a map ID if you wanted to. And it takes a lot of work to get this to set up because you have to install stuff on a server. You have to go get API keys. It's a big mess. But you know what I should do is actually link to it from this description. The easy version, which is almost but not quite the same, but also a lot less setup. Let me see if I can find that link, because that is also very useful. Did not plan this ahead of time, so I don't have the link ready. It's where am I going to find it? It's going to be, I've talked about it in a live stream before, but I don't know if I remember which live stream. So I can try to search for my links. I use my own website feature. So if you go to aaronpk.tv/chat links, you get this page, which is just everything I've dropped into the chat. And let's search for I'm from. Here it is. Sure enough, this is the link I was looking for. So there is a Mac app, and I'm going to drop this into the chat again, so it's going to show up there twice. This is a Mac app that does essentially the same thing. It is I don't want to open it in the App Store. It is a map app that loads a globe, so it uses the Google or the Apple Maps instead of Google Maps on the web. It uses the Apple Maps system on the Mac, and then you can either make it a globe or a flat map, and it does the exact same thing. So you do have to go get an API key still, but there's instructions in here for how to do that. And then it'll do everything that mine does, and then you basically just send that out over an HDMI feed, and it will go and, like, you can run it into your ATEM, you can whatever you want. You know, it's just you full screen the app, and that is the picture. So I've talked about it in some live streams before, and you can find. I thought I've talked about it more than once, so it must be a different link that I've mentioned before. But you can see a demo of it if you click on that timestamp. And if I refresh this, does it? Yeah, now it's showing today's stream as well. So that is my little demo of my little link search as well. So that's the deal with the map. I would recommend using this Mac app if you want to get that feature in your live streams, because it is far easier to do that than to go through the trouble of setting up the server-based one that I use. Cool. What happened to the map? Do we only have forests now? Also, I noticed the counter was skipping, or it doesn't tick down the number, right? I don't know what happened to that. I also made a change to the countdown, which is it like pulses during the last minute, which was kind of cool, a little CSS animation. I don't know why the number didn't tick down, so I think there's some sort of timing thing I need to work out. You are one brave soul for making a last minute change like that. Yeah. The thing was, like, if it didn't work, I would just not, I could just leave it the same as before, because I basically have to, once you make the map style, tell your JavaScript code to use the new map, and I could just not do that. Yeah, the countdown clock was skipping. I don't know why. Looks great for last second change on the fly. Thanks, MT. Okay. I can use this for my kids' study world map. Cool, yeah. Yeah, the Mac app is honestly the way to go for that. Mikkel says, the black sound pads in the background have been distracting for a while. Today is last, but wanted you to get that feedback. Yeah, I noticed that comment last week. I agree. I'm not a big fan. I don't like that they're poking down, but I can't move them up higher, so I need to just cover them. I think I could cover them in fabric, which is, I guess it would like reduce some of it would get rid of the little points, so it would have less sound dampening properties, but maybe not enough to matter, and it would certainly look better covered in white fabric. I could paint them, but that seems weird too. Okay, anything else about the maps? No. Okay, we're gonna move on to some questions. What questions can we get to? YouTube tricked me, stream not available, a short refresh, and I'm here again. Well, welcome back. I don't know, YouTube is weird sometimes. Mateo says, what model do you suggest of an external monitor with HDMI in-out to connect to the ATEM Mini Pro Extreme? Lilliput, Feelworld, Beatronics. I have never used a Beatronics monitor, but I have used both the Lilliput and the Feelworld. I think it really depends on what size you want. So I do like the little 7-inch ones, but they're very small for a multi-view, but they're also great for easy to pack up and carry around. And those also fit on the stand, the small stand for the YoloBox, or not YoloBox, for the ATEM that I've got. And that's the little, let's see if I can find that link. The 7-inch. So yeah, it is. I should have dropped some text into that comment, sorry. But yeah, here is the, oh, that's the one that has SDI. There's also the one that's just HDMI, which is good also, which I believe is this one. Yeah, this is the other one that I've used. Let me grab that. So this is the 7-inch Feelworld. It is very small for multi-view. It is usable. I have used it myself. I have this at home for doing stuff when I'm at home, just because I don't want a large monitor there. The other one that I would recommend, if you don't want to be looking at tiny little postage stamp size multi-view, is the Lilliput 10-inch, and that is this one. It is really nice glossy screen, and it also has SDI as well as HDMI in and out. That's the one that I use at the teleprompter on the table, and I like that one a lot. 10-inch is a much more reasonable size for a multi-view. You can see a lot more on that size screen, and it's still small enough that like it's, I don't know, laptop size, right? So you can still like put it into a bag and not worry about it. If you want to go bigger than that, the next one up, I would say, is the Seetec, which is like Feelworld and Seetec. They're like the same thing. I don't know why. This one, which is the 15-inch quad view. This one is cool too. And this one I did a video on a while back. It has 4 inputs and outputs, so you can use it as a multi-view for the original ATEM Mini, which is kind of neat. But even if you don't care about the 4 inputs and outputs, you can just use one. It's full screen. It's a very comfortable size. 15 inches is very comfortable for the multi-view. And I would not. You wouldn't feel limited at all with that size of a screen. This one's also completely metal, and it feels chunky. It's like, yeah, this is like a thing that you're holding. The 10-inch one is much more. I think it's some sort of plastic case, but it feels much more like a little thing. This one's like, oh yeah, you put this down on the table, it's not going anywhere. This one, so yeah, I like this one a lot as well. And I don't have this one like installed anywhere, but I do have it where I think it's under my desk right now, where I can like, oh, it's up on the shelf, but I like throw this one on the table if I need a quick monitor somewhere. And because it does have multiple ins and outs, you can actually switch between the inputs if you don't want them all in the quad view, which is kind of neat. So those are what I would say are probably the best. Don't try to put the 15-inch one on my ATEM Mini stands, please. It is too heavy for those. So don't try to, you'll not be happy with what happens. Oh, and Frank is making a very good point. In the latest update to the YoloBox, you can also use it as a monitor. So you can use it totally offline, which is a nice update that they did. So it used to be that you had to create a live stream in order to even like be able to see any inputs that were connected to it. But now it has a monitor mode where it does not need a network connection. You obviously can't live stream when it's offline, but you can record to it or use it as a monitor or just use it as a switcher and send out the HDMI to something else. So that is another good point. It's definitely overkill if all you need is a monitor. I would not recommend buying the YoloBox because you don't need all those features if you're just looking for a monitor, but it can be used as a monitor if you're trying to like cut down the number of things you have, if you just need to be able to get a screen, get something onto a screen. Okay, so yeah, let's see, any other questions? That was a good one. That was a good question. Thanks for that. If you do have a question, make sure you mention Q at the beginning, so I do see it over here. Otherwise, I'm going to assume people are chatting with each other in the chat, which is totally fine also. Any remote teleprompter ideas, says Joel. Remote teleprompter. So do you mean like remote as in two different locations, or just remote as in not wired? What I usually do for teleprompters is I have an iPad, and there's teleprompter apps for iPad which can do the screen mirroring. And then one of the ones that I use also has a separate app that's called like the remote. And the nice thing about that is, I'm trying to find it here. The nice thing about that is you can put the remote app on your phone and control, like scroll up and down and pause and stuff on the display, which is the iPad, where it's going to be like shoved under the teleprompter where you can't really get to it. So it's nice that you don't have to worry about being able to reach the teleprompter because you can do it all from your phone. That one is, why can't I find it on my phone? Yeah, that one's just called teleprompter, which is like, come on, please name your apps something that's actually descriptive, or not descriptive, but unique, so I can search for it in the App Store, because if you just search for teleprompter, you get everybody's teleprompter apps. So it is... yeah, this is the one, or is this one that has the remote? Gosh. I might have to, I don't think this is. I'm going to have to do a separate video about that, because I've used a couple of them and I always forget which one's which, and I have to like launch both apps before I remember which one I like better. So I'm going to save that for later. But Joel is saying control the text remotely and the guest is in another city. So I would, for that, those apps are not going to work because those are all assuming that you're like connected over Bluetooth. So you're going to need some sort of web-based thing for that. And I believe prompter, see if I can find it. So, okay, this one, I helped him add this feature, but there is this cool website called, oh, thank you for the super chat. I just saw that. The Curious Spotter. Oh, I've watched your channel. Thank you for the live chat overlay, using it for my airport live streams, and it's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. I do like just watching airplanes take off. It's been nice to have that channel. So thanks for that. The web-based teleprompter software I was looking for is called prompter.tv, and it basically, if you just go there, it just ships with this default script, and the idea is that you load this, you can load this on a computer screen or an iPad. It can also do the flip itself, which is kind of neat. So you would, if you're not using a monitor that can do the image flip, this web page can do the image flip, and then you can use it just like this by itself if you can touch the screen, or like if you have your computer connected into mirroring your to another display. So which is, what I can do here, I can make this screen in front of me appear over on the teleprompter, and then I can still use my computer this way, looking at this screen. But there's also this remote control feature, which is, if you, this is actually live. If anybody scans this, you will actually get the remote interface to control my screen. And someone go ahead and do that. At least it'll be fun. You can load this up in another device, and then you can actually then control my session. So I'm going to assume somebody has scanned that, and there we go. So now it's being controlled by, my hands are not on the computer. So I don't know who's doing it, but maybe a bunch of you are trying. And you can set the position, you can change the speed, you can scroll. I think you can actually edit the text, which means I should probably not let people just type random stuff on my screen. But it's kind of cool. I can see it's going a little wild. People are adjusting the speed and all that good stuff. So yeah, kind of cool. I'm going to close that session now. But that is a very cool website. So go, try that out. It's all totally free. It's open source. I don't know. I guess you can run it on your own server if you wanted to, but it's also just you can just use it at prompter.tv. Oh, thanks, Joel. Appreciate it. For all the effort put in week after week, and the super helpful community here as well. Yes, we do have a fantastic community here. It's very nice. Thank you for the super chat, and thanks for the good question. Totally forgot to I forgot about that prompter.tv app until you mentioned you wanted it to be remotely controlled. Very cool. Dr. Elo says, what is the easiest way to make macros in the ATEM Mini? Do you have a video? Good question. I've definitely demonstrated it many times on live streams. Let me see if I have a dedicated video, though. I don't know if I actually have done a generic video, but I have two things for you. I have done demonstrations of recording macros in some of my other tutorials. So I believe it's this one. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Here we go. In my how to make a side-by-side layout video, I have a section in here. I should probably drop this link in. How to make a side-by-side layout. In that video, I have a section where I then talk about how to save what you've just done as a macro. So this is the method that I normally use for making macros in the ATEM, and I walk through it in this video. So take a look at that one. And then, who does have a video specifically about making macros is Photo Joseph, which would be he has a very good video about it. This one, making macros from scratch. Is that the right one? Yeah, I think that's the right one. So from a while ago, but still obviously relevant. And this video is another good, kind of goes through the same process of creating the macro, and then I think he goes into the XML bit as well of like if you want to make fine adjustments, you can. He shows how to do that. So those are the two places I would go to take a look at that. And hello, Mr. Camera Junkie. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining. Okay, other questions. Will an extended USB-C monitor work on the ATEM as a multi-view? Nope, not at all. The USB-C on the ATEM is only for three things. It's for recording to USB drive, webcam to your computer, or tethering a phone's internet connection, or yeah, those are the three. And it does not, however, have any ability to show multi-view out, unfortunately. Can the Lilliput do 2997? Oh, thanks for the super chat. What just happened? I don't know where it went. Sorry, I missed it. I need that sound effect on my computer so I can hear it. Oh, that was from Dr. Elo. Thank you very much. I see it here now. I appreciate it. I'm going to get my little sound on my computer so I can actually hear the super chats come in. That should work. So, okay. Lilliput 2997. Yes, it can. So that is one of the nice things about that monitor, is that it will work at 2997 where some computer monitors will not. And I have done, yeah, because I have it set up to run through my SDI matrix. So when I have the multi-view from the ATEM, that is running directly at 2997 over to that. Several USB-C monitors have mini HDMI, so you can power it through USB-C and multi-view through HDMI. Yeah, of course. But then you're just running the HDMI out through from the ATEM into that monitor. I don't know if the ATEM can power it. It can send enough power over that USB-C to power that monitor too, but that would be, I probably wouldn't try doing that. Simon, super chats for questions. You absolutely are welcome to super chat a question to me, but I'm also, if you just want to ask a question, put the letter Q or question in front of your question, and it makes it easier to filter out through on my page here. Now I'm getting a little backlogged, so I'm gonna go try to scroll back up. Oh, from Chris earlier in the stream. Got my Mark II stand the past week, and the build quality is beyond top notch. Now just waiting for the Stream Deck XL to complete the set. I am so glad to hear it. Very glad to hear it. The Mark IIs have been shipping, so those are on their way to everybody, and we have them shipping from lots of different locations now, which is great. And yeah, the build quality is great. I know that like everybody here knows that these are, you know, I've done this modeling. I've essentially been 3D printing these prototypes. So these are, you know, these photos are of my 3D printed versions. But the good news is that when they get made and the ones that are actually shipping to you, they are made using a much better material than the very, very cheap PLA that I use. So I use PLA that I get from Amazon. It's like $18 a spool. And it's just because I print so many of these when I'm designing these, that I'll print one and I'm like, does the ATEM fit? Oh, it's 2 millimeters off in this one spot. So I have to throw the whole thing out and then make a new one. And I don't want to be wasting good material for that. So I use a very cheap material. And the good news is that when they make the ones for real that you get, they are using a much, much, much better material for that. And that is why it is so much nicer than what you think of as a 3D printed product, because it's not just the cheap stuff that you get when you buy the cheap filament from Amazon for printing random things. So yeah, very cool. Glad yours made it there safely. That is excellent to hear. question from earlier. Is there any difference in Chromecast support between the normal ATEM Mini and the ATEM Mini Extreme? I got an Extreme. I wonder if I should buy one for that. I don't think there's any difference. The Chromecast will not work by itself, and you'd have to use that splitter. There are, however, the other devices that are not Chromecasts that still have support for casting from Chrome. I don't know what it's called. And those don't need the splitter in order to work with the ATEM Mini. It's just the Chromecast has done that weird hard coding HTTP thing. So at this point, I probably would not recommend buying an actual Chromecast for it. I would get one of those other devices instead. I've linked to them in other videos. I don't know if I can... Oh, I know what I can search for. On my product search page, I need to just consolidate all these different pages into one single search box so you can just search across all of my stuff. I think that's a project for this week, maybe. The I don't know why it's also not finding it, but yeah. When I did the big live stream at the beginning of the year that was testing all of the Miracast adapters, that's the word. So Miracast testing live stream. So this is the live stream that I did that big test and had a couple of these. We found one of them that was the clear winner out of these, and some of them didn't have as many features, and I can't remember the exact results. But anyway, the links are down here in this video. I would not recommend watching the entire 2-hour video because it's just unplugging and replugging things in a lot. But if you do want to skip through and see, like, okay, what does this one look like? You can see the interface that it shows on the screen and that kind of stuff. So that was a fun stream. That was like a 2-hour just sitting there unplugging things, plugging back in. We had a whole pile of these things. Oh, that worked. Thanks, Jason. I heard that one. Thanks for the super chat. Oh, thanks for all the info on the YoloBox. I appreciate it. Got more coming. I will just say that. I'm planning a bunch of videos. Simon pointed out Widevine DRM is what's baked into the Chromecast firmware. Okay, that's annoying. Yeah. So anyway, that's the deal with Chromecasts. I would not get a Chromecast itself. Apple TVs work fine, and those Miracast devices work. Oh, here's a question from earlier. Thanks as always for the show from Blankton. Is Companion able to control the Ultra Studio Mini 4K? I couldn't find an image profile for it. I've never tried. I don't know what you would control on it because it doesn't. I don't know. I've never had to do any. I've never pushed any buttons on it. I have mine set up to show this chat into the stream, but it's just sitting there running, and I've never had to do anything with it. Yeah. GoWeb Technologies says, any experience with decaffeine NDI streamer on the Raspberry Pi? I have not really. I've installed it at one point, and that was about it. I haven't done too much NDI experiments. I need to decide what I'm going to be experimenting with NDI and how that's going to fit in, because I just don't have a lot of use for it here, I feel like. Dean asks, can you explain the difference between the ATEM Mini Extreme versus ATEM Mini Extreme ISO? Yes, there is one difference. The difference is what happens when you hit record. The ISO version will record all inputs and all audio tracks as individual files on your hard disk, each of them at 70 megabits a second. And you get a whole pile of files of all the different video and audio, the whole for everything. The ATEM Mini Extreme, without the ISO model, will only record whatever is in your program window. So the final, whatever's being streamed, that's what gets recorded. That is the only difference. So it is a very huge difference. And it is a very, very useful feature for the extra $300 because literally nobody else sells an 8-track video recorder for $300. That doesn't exist. So if you're going to get the Extreme, I would bump up and get the ISO. I think there's still plenty of uses of the ATEM Mini if you don't need the Extreme, but if you're going to get the Extreme and considering spending $1,000, I would actually save up the extra $300 and spend $1,300 for the ISO version because you cannot get that feature anywhere else. GoWeb Technology says, I became a huge fan of Raspberry Pis. How many are you using other than for companion? Yeah, they're fantastic little things that are very affordable and easy to just do all sorts of stuff with them. I use Raspberry Pis for a bunch of stuff. I have one running companion here behind this table. So somewhere back here is a Raspberry Pi, and it is running companion for these buttons that I'm pressing. The Stream Deck is connected to it, so the Stream Deck USB port is plugged into the Raspberry Pi, and that's where all these are running. That same Raspberry Pi also, I have the streaming bridge that I built in Nginx, so RTMP receiver that I can use to push video from remote places into my studio, and the HDMI port of the Raspberry Pi is connected into this setup as well because I don't need the HDMI port for companion. So that's all part of this. Those are on the same Pi, and I haven't had any trouble with running both of those. And the other main use that I use them for is the VPN link between my home and the studio. So there's one on each side of the network, and that is what's running WireGuard for the VPN, and it's creating the link between the two sites so that they appear to be just locally accessible on either end. So I can access any of my devices at home on the home network. I can just type in their IP address from here, and it's like I have a local connection, and same the other direction, where at home I can get to any of this gear from there without having to do any VPN on my machine. So the really nice thing about that is like I don't have to set up a VPN software on every device that I want to be able to use the remote devices. I can just take an iPad and then you load up Mix Effect on the iPad at home, and suddenly it's talking directly to the ATEM in the studio, and there's no VPN software in either of those devices. So very, very cool. And then I also use I do have WireGuard installed on my laptop and on my phone, so I can also VPN into my studio from outside of both locations. So that's what I was doing in New York, where I was streaming from the Mevo cameras into, this screen that you saw on the stream, and then my laptop was VPN'd into here, so I could pull up the multi-view of the ATEM, I could control the ATEM, all as if I were here. That's my two main uses of them, and then actually, the third main use, now that I'm doing quite a lot of it, is 3D printing. So I have Octoprint installed on them, and let me pull one of those up. It's kind of cool. This is the web interface for controlling the 3D printers, and it hasn't done anything in a little while, but it's got a little webcam there, so I can see what's on the print bed, and you can go and load up models in here. Like here is the last bracket I printed for the battery wall, and then you get a little preview of what it's going to do, and you can tell it to print. I can just hit print right now, and it'll start making that on the print bed. I'm not going to do that because I don't want another one of those in black, since that's the filament that's loaded right now. But this is running on a Raspberry Pi, and then the Raspberry Pi is the thing that is sending commands to the 3D printer to actually control it. And then those are the ones that are like always running, and those are just always on and always available. And then what else do I use? What else do I use Raspberry Pis for? I've got other I have a couple others that I just install random things on to try things out, but those are the ones that are always in use. A video on VPN on a Pi would be very helpful. I agree. It is. I have a blog post about it, but I haven't done a video about it yet. So I can drop that link in here. I do have a blog post about about the VPN situation. So here's the ATEM Mini Remote Interview Kit. And this is where I set up, you set up a VPN server in the studio on it can be a Raspberry Pi, but you can also use these little dedicated devices that are the little travel routers. And then you do need a Raspberry Pi on the other end because you have to do some more routing tricks. But what this lets you do is from your studio, you can go remote into this kit and control the ATEM. So this walks through the VPN configuration, which is very, very similar to what I have to connect the two sites. But I should probably actually do a video or blog post on my actual VPN setup between the two locations, because that is, it's a little bit more complicated and requires a little bit extra configuration, but it is so useful. It's super useful. Oh, thanks, Street News Now. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Don't see a comment there, but thank you very much. It is very appreciated. Okay, we are just like on a roll today. I haven't even got a chance to go turn on the YoloBox for today. I have decided that since these streams tend to end up running for 2 hours these days anyway, because apparently there's just a lot to talk about, what I'm going to do is be more deliberate about the first half of it being Q&A, try to keep questions to within, no more than 5 minutes at a time for if I do little demos or whatever. And then the second half, since this is what's been happening, I will do a deeper dive or a live, let's try something out, let's mess something up, and do that in the second half, so that anybody who is just here looking for the quicker pace questions doesn't have to stick around for the entire 2 hours. So what I might do in the second half today is go pull up the YoloBox again, the YoloBox Pro, which is not streaming this one, but I have it set up and wired in, and I can show you the screen on it and all that kind of stuff. And we can talk about that and try some things out and see what we can find there. So yeah, speaking of the YoloBox, have you done YoloBox recording? What's your opinion of it? I actually don't think I have. I don't think I actually have done anything where I've recorded the show locally, because I've always used it for streaming, because that is how I use it. I take it out and I'm doing a live stream with it, and I've really only done live streams for my channel where it isn't something where, like, because this is a live stream show about live streaming, if something goes wrong, that's just part of the show. And there's no content without the questions. So if I was recording like an event, I would record that locally, and then that would be a nice backup where I could then upload that later if the stream dropped out. But in this case, if the stream drops out, then I don't want to just keep talking to myself here. I want to be, talking to the people in the chat and answering questions. So I would just stop talking and fix it, and then we would get back to it. So that's why I haven't really used the recording feature. But I should at least do some better tests with it. So Jason asks, were you able to repeat the overlay glitch on the YoloBox? How are you feeling about the YoloBox Pro? I wasn't able to repeat it, but we can try that and try to make it work, try to make it not work, fail, and see if we can figure that out, because I know they are trying to figure out what that bug is and need some better data about how to actually cause it in order to figure out what's going on with the overlapping messages. So we can try that. And if anybody else has ever seen that before, if you know what steps to do to cause the message to get stuck, please let me know, and then we will try to figure that out. Yeah, I don't know why the comments didn't disappear, so we're going to try to figure that out. Roland asks, since updating my iPad Mini 5, which I believe is the current gen before the USB-C one, to iPad OS 15, iMix drops frames when outputting video to the ATEM, but it's visible on the iPad. Ooh, that's too bad. I wonder what's going on there. That's the one that with the Lightning to HDMI, so it could be something has changed with how they've got that adapter working. That's a bummer. I'm surprised that's happening in the latest OS. I haven't tried it too much myself, so I don't know if I have any tips there. And I have not used PlayLB lately either, but I know a bunch of people have, and that one is one of the ones on my list of things to try out again, because it's been a long time since I actually have installed it, and I hear it's gotten a lot easier and a lot better. I'm trying to play key fill through the Ultra Studio Mini 4K on ATEM Mini Pro. Maybe the clips in DaVinci using recipe you suggested. I believe I need to use Companion. Can you please talk through the process? Okay. So the trick is the Ultra Studio is not a media player. It is like a video device. So you need something that can push video to it that it can output over its video ports. So when I'm playing back video clips that I've created in DaVinci, I load them onto the HyperDeck because that is a video playback device. So the HyperDeck is the one that you can pop in the SD card, and if your video file has the alpha channel in it, then the HyperDeck can output the alpha channel on the second SDI port. The Ultra Studio has the two SDI ports for key fill graphics, but it doesn't have any ability to load up a file in it. So instead, what it does is it uses software on the computer to play out graphics through it. So the main way I use it is in order for this chat to work. So if I show you my computer screen, I have OBS set up with this web page that is showing this chat message. And OBS knows about the Ultra Studio 4K. So, and if you switch it to external keyer, then that basically tells OBS to send the alpha channel to the Ultra Studio as well, so they can send both out. So this is not a black background, this is a transparent background, and OBS knows it's transparent, so OBS is able to send that alpha channel to the Ultra Studio in a way that where the Ultra Studio can send it out of the one SDI port. So you can play, you can load up your video in OBS and play it back that way. So for example, if I switch to, let me turn off audio on that because otherwise you're going to hear the countdown music. What is that? That is channel 7. Yes. So I'm going to turn that off. Now, if I switch over to the countdown, oh, that didn't work. Are you hearing it? No, okay, you're not hearing it. You can see the audio is playing, so just in case that is going out there, I'm going to turn that way down. The countdown timer, this is a video clip that I used to use for the countdown timer that I used to play from the HyperDeck, and I've just loaded it into OBS. Like, it is just a file on the computer with the alpha channel built in, and again, OBS knows about the alpha channel, so that it is able to then output the dual, the key fill over to the Ultra Studio. And that's why you're seeing it also down in the corner there, because this is actually live. So I'll go back to this one so I can actually show chat messages again. So hopefully that helps. And now I do want the audio back for that. Okay. Oh, back on the Raspberry Pi, NDI gateway on the Pi would be cool. Yeah, that would be the decaffeine. Somebody else mentioned that earlier. I've played with the SRT Pi player and it works great. That's cool. Also, yep. Oh, Graham, thank you. I think Street News now put a question just before the super chat. Let me go find that. I'm not sure how I missed that. Where did it go? Aha! Here it is. Thank you very much, Graham, for pointing that out. And thank you, Street News Now, for the super chat. Okay, your question was, I have an extreme ISO. I've been using StreamYard for switching with 6 guests. I would like to bring in each of them into an input on the extreme. What's the best way to do that? So, oh gosh, you're in for a challenge. 6 guests is a lot. So you're going to need 6 things that can output a video feed. So one option is computers for everything. So if you use vdo.ninja, which let me just drop that link in the chat. Vdo.ninja is meant for this exact purpose. So basically, like if you read the docs, it's going to say that it's all for OBS, but there's a way to use it without OBS. But the idea is you can create what they call a room, which is like a call, and it ends up looking like a Zoom call where you can then add guests into the room. And so here's the link you would send to your guest. And anybody who downloads, who visits this will show up as little guest slots down here, which again, since I put the password on the stream, you can just join it. And you will show up here if you try to join that right now. And then what you can do is, if you want them all in just one frame, that's what they call the group scene. And that'll do the sort of auto layout like Zoom, where it just puts everybody onto a screen and you can use that as one input. Or if you want them as separate inputs into your ATEM, you'll need either a bunch of computers or a computer with a bunch of extra monitors or extra HDMI outputs going into your ATEM, where you can load up I need an actual guest in here. Let me copy this and join this as a guest. And we're going to allow it, we're going to join from what's the right device to use? Let's join from good enough. Okay. So here is a guest. Oh, and somebody else is in here too. So here is 2 guests. And what you can do is copy this solo link. And this, if you open this up in a browser, is, oh gosh, the audio is feeding back too. This is the guests as their own window. And if you full screen that on a monitor, you can output that into your ATEM. So I believe I've mentioned how to do that how I did that on one of the other streams. It was the one about, it was the developer day behind the scenes, because I had a guest joining that way. Behind the scenes with using vdo.ninja, and there is that video where I talk somewhere in there about in more of a step-by-step how to do that. And then I'm trying to remember if I have a better tutorial on that also. I don't think I do. Do I have a video about bringing in guests? I have one using Ecamm. Yeah, I think that's the best one. Okay, cool. So hopefully that gives you a place to start. The challenge you're in for, though, is wanting 6 separate six separate video feeds into your ATEM is quite a lot to make that happen. So yeah. Oh, and I just switched back to the Video Ninja, and I see whoever this is has a camera behind them and is watching me on that screen, which is kind of cool. Hi. Okay. I'm going to close that window now. Don't know what happens to the guests view when I close it. All right, making my way down through the questions. Oh, here's one from Go Web Technologies. What 3D printer do you recommend for the purpose of making small rigs? Also, how do you design those? I remember you had shown once on your live stream. I did. So let me see if I can find it. Yes. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop this link again to how to search through my old videos. If you go to aaronpk.tv/timestamps, you can search through all the chapter headers of what I've tagged in my live streams. And if you just search for 3D, it turns out you get a couple of videos of me talking about it. And this one, getting started with 3D modeling for 3D printing, this is where I talked about the software and showed what software I use for it, which is Shaper 3D on the iPad. I am trying to learn Fusion 360 now, which is a desktop computer program, and I'm excited about how the things that it can do that Shaper 3D can't. However, I'm less excited about having to use a computer for it. I very much enjoy being able to do it on an iPad on the couch. So that's where I've talked about that. And then I believe I talked about the printer, the Prusa Mini that I got in this one here as well. So yeah, the printer I use for prototyping is the Prusa Mini, and then I recently got the bigger one, the Mark III, which is larger print bed because some of the things I've been doing are now too big for the Prusa Mini. So the top bar of the Extreme stand doesn't really fit on the mini bed, and the plate for the Stream Deck, so the thing that's under this piece is actually too big for the Prusa Mini, so I had to print that on the Mark III. Okay, I'm gonna skip through some of these I don't have any good answer for. Marco says, it would be great if you can do some more testing with different modes on Speedify. I found the redundant mode over UDP most reliable. Streaming mode, not so. Interesting. They make a big deal out of how the streaming mode is the most reliable for streaming, which makes sense. But yeah, I should do some more tests. Oh, I should also say wow, we're almost at the end of the top of the hour, and I barely even talked about the show last week. The stream that I did in San Francisco, it was a lot of fun, and that was at the hotel with the hotel with the YoloBox using Speedify, and I had the Speedify connected to the hotel Wi-Fi and my phone's SIM card. And after the stream, I promised that I was going to go pull up the stats. You can't switch to the Speedify app during a stream because the YoloBox app has to be in front. But this is what it showed after the stream. So my peak was 11 megabits somewhere near the beginning of the stream. I don't know actually what the time scale is on this. But what's interesting is that it never fell over to my LTE connection. It was using the hotel Wi-Fi the entire time, because the Wi-Fi was apparently good enough that it didn't have any trouble with that connection. So I didn't end up using any cell data on that stream, which I'm a little bit bummed about, because I wanted to see the little stats of like how much cell data did I use? What was it? How was it falling over? But I guess the hotel Wi-Fi was just totally fine. So what we can do now, today, since we're now at the top of the hour, and I promised a second hour of trying things out in the more experimental setting, I can connect my YoloBox to this network, but then throttle it down using my router. And we can experiment with what it does under those conditions if you're curious. Time for another outdoor stream from the bridge without the smoke. Yeah. There was a little bit of smoke smell in the air yesterday, but nothing visible really. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about, how are you rating the new iPad Mini? I like it a lot. It is a very, very nice device. It is, I did actually replace my previous gen iPad Mini with it, which is probably not necessary, but I like it. It is sitting here now, so I'm not actually using it for anything right now, but my old one is now up here, and it is dedicated to mix effect. So I've got it wired in with an Ethernet connection, and I run Mix Effect on it. So if I ever need to tweak stuff, I can go use that over there. And then this one is now the one that lives in my backpack, travel bag, wherever I'm bringing it. And yeah, it's great. I like the Touch ID is really a lot nicer than Face ID in my opinion. MTS, can companion control the video hub? I am not sure. I haven't seen anything about that. Yeah, it totally can. So it's very straightforward. You have to add it as a connection. So in here I've got video hub connected. It just is one of the devices in companion. And obviously you have to tell it the IP address of your video hub. And then when you go make buttons for it, I've got a whole page here that controls the video hub. So for example, that button, you just say route. The action is called route. And then you do source, destination. And you can, of course, do multiple. These are all only doing one thing at a time, but I could make sort of scenes where I could say, I think I actually have one somewhere on one of the pages, but you can make a scene that says, like, this is my, oh, thanks, Don. Wow, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. Your ATEM stand Mark II is awesome. You deserve from everyone great praise for your intuition and work, and a sincere thank you. That is very sweet. Thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot. Yeah, thanks. Wow, the super chats always throw me off because they come in at such random times, but I appreciate it. The scenes. So if I'm doing a stream like this, I usually have this as my multi-view, and I have my second computer monitor down here, which I'm actually not using right now. Sometimes I put the chat over there, so like pop out the chat, and then put that over here so I can keep an eye on that. Oh, I need to do that better, but I can't really read it. I usually zoom in to see it. Anyway, that's like one mode where I want this multi-view, that as a computer monitor. And then if I'm going to be doing a workshop where I'm teaching and showing stuff on my computer monitor, I obviously want the text to be bigger than that. So I want that as my computer monitor and that as the multi-view, because the multi-view is a lot less important when I'm doing a workshop where I'm just using, I'm in Zoom or whatever, and not showing stuff on the ATEM Mini. So I have a button in here somewhere. I may have actually gotten rid of it, but it's like, it does both of those commands at the same time. So it'll send the route for that to the multi-view and route that to the computer, and then it'll flip back as well. So I can switch modes easily, and I can do that with other devices in here, other monitors and stuff as well. But I do mainly now just have this as my routing page where I have all my different monitors. So it's my computer monitor here, the two smart views, the teleprompter, the other monitor over there. And then I put ATEM input 2 on here as well, because that's another one where when I'm doing this stream, I want you to see this. I want whatever is on this computer screen to show up here so I can put it into the stream. But when I'm doing a workshop where I'm doing slides or live coding, I don't want my main screen in the workshop. I want my second screen. So I want the Zoom screen, or I want the second monitor, which will be like the keynote main window rather than the speaker notes. I want that in input too. So that's why I have those two buttons. Hardy Media says, have you used New Blue Titler with the ATEM? I have not. I've heard of that before. If I remember correctly, it's very expensive. So, oh, it's not that bad, $300. Okay, yeah, no, I haven't used it. I would be interested to try it. looked it up now and it's looking really nice. Cool. Yeah. I am looking forward to H2R graphics version 2. That should be fun as well. Okay, what else? Oh, Booth Junkie's here. Hi, thanks for joining. Question, do you have a strategy for managing or labeling your HDMI cables behind the ATEM? Since I'm always changing things, it's hard to let it become a rat's nest. Yeah, I did finally do one thing. So one thing to fix this. Because I have the same problem where I rearrange things a lot, but I do have this SDI matrix that means a lot of my rearranging is all virtual now, which helps. But there are 12. How many? 4 by 3. Yeah, 12 cables that run from here to that table, all in this little conduit. And those 12 cables, as soon as I was lying down on the floor, I was like, I have to label these. And if I do not label these, I am going to lose track of them and it's going to be a giant mess. So I gave them each a letter. I just called one of them is, A, B, C, D, E. And I put little tape on both ends, labeled it with that letter. And now when I'm on this side and I'm looking at a cable and I want to move it somewhere, I'm like, okay, this is A. And I know what the other end is. Otherwise, it's hopeless. So highly recommend doing that if you have any groups of large numbers of cables going anywhere. But yeah, I just used I think it was the gaff tape and a Sharpie, not high tech. The building sheriff says, do you have any information on the YoloBox live server? I'm led to believe that something fancy goes on, but I cannot find any information. I don't know anything really other than they do run a server for being able to do restreaming. So when you're pushing from the YoloBox to multiple platforms, the YoloBox does not actually push to the platforms directly. It pushes to a server that they run, which then pushes to all your platforms. I'm assuming they're doing that because it saves bandwidth and is a lot more reliable to have only one outgoing stream. So, but they did in a recent update add a feature where you can go into direct mode, I think that's what it's called, where you can stream directly from your YoloBox to one platform. So that is a recent update. Hardy Media says, in Las Vegas today, but I still wouldn't miss your show. Well, thanks for joining. Is that ATEM Mini in a Hall of Fame behind you? Yes, that is in one of my stands. It is the, I think it's the original ATEM Mini, not the ISO. And I was using that on my desk here a little while ago to get additional inputs into my ATEM Extreme, but then I kind of switched everything around. So I haven't needed it here, although today I was like, I'm out of inputs. 8 isn't enough again. Assuming that we actually get over to the table and I show you stuff over there to actually use the rest of the inputs. But yeah, it sits over there and then it's handy to be able to pull out and test and measure and test things out with stands. Speaking of the stands, Pat is asking, if you use the aluminum base for the Extreme, are you precluded from using the Stream Deck stand with it? Yeah, so the aluminum base of the Extreme is, let's see if I can find it. I don't think I have any pictures on my site for it, but the aluminum base, yeah, here we go. What this does is it sits under the stand and is this nice little H that makes it super, super strong. And then you can mount that to stuff. So what that means though is that it is now above, the stand is not sitting on the table, so the Stream Deck stand, the little leg that pokes down is not going to hit the table. So it does not work in this configuration, but they are working on a extra little aluminum T that will attach to this that will support the Stream Deck stand so that you can use both together. I don't think that's available right now, but they are working on it. So keep an eye out here for that soon. But yeah, it's basically going to be like a little extra aluminum bracket so if you imagine there's one under here, it's going to go out to there and then have another bar there for this to sit on. Yep. What is the real-life battery runtime of the YoloBox Pro? I don't have an exact number. It obviously depends on exactly what you're doing with it, but it is quite impressive how long it goes. In fact, I did not need to have it plugged in for the live stream last week. I could have run that whole thing off of a battery. It was only an hour long, so I haven't actually tried to like run it down, but it's obviously going to run down faster if you are actively streaming, plus how many things you have plugged into it. But it's impressive, and the YoloBox Pro is significantly larger, so the battery is even bigger. Randy says, I'm waiting for the Stream Deck extension. Also, cool. Oh, Chris is more interested in the iPad mini stand. Yeah, this one is also, this one we're also still working on, but the iPad mini is attached in this little, these pieces are actually very small. I was able to take advantage of most of the extra stuff that's already on here, but these little things are just big enough for the iPad to slip into. And the good news is the new iPad mini is actually the same thickness as the old one, without the case, obviously. But it's the same thickness, which means it slips in here too. The difference is that it is narrower. So if you compare the two, the original one is actually slightly longer. You can kind of see, it's not the best angle. You can kind of see it. It's like a ½ inch, maybe 10 millimeters longer. So I do need to have two different versions where this is going to go in a little bit to make it tighter, because right now this is kind of slippy. But that'll be the same part for both, and that'll change and be a little bit smaller for the new iPad, which is very cool. Yeah, that is in the works. This has been working fine though. So this is actually only attached to the right bar of the Stream Deck stand. That goes in there, that goes in here, and yeah, it's pretty good. And then of course, power it and give it wired Ethernet, which gives it a better network connection. All right. Hoping for an ATEM Mini Extreme V2 with some SDI inputs. Oh yeah, well, we've all got our own wish lists. I think my wish list is still, I should update my wish list now, because now that they've done the Extreme, which had more features than I thought was going to be added, was not expecting SuperSource in that. So now that I know that they're willing to put SuperSource and stuff, yeah, cool. Okay, I've made it to the bottom of the questions, which means, and we're already over time, so let's talk about, I need like a graphic animation between these new segments, which I've decided to do. Let's do some experiments. This is experiment time. Maybe that's what it's called. So in this, for the rest of this, we're gonna get a little messy, and we can get a little messy with this and mess things up and see what we can break or try out. So I do have the YoloBox set up, and I do kind of want to see if I can get that chat bug to resurface so we can help them debug it. Or we can try throttling it and testing out how Speedify handles the bonding situation. Do I have my phone's SIM card accessible? I do. Okay. So, oh, and one last question here. What do you use the new iPad Mini for on a daily basis? I haven't moved over my 3D modeling into it yet, although it does have the new pencil support, so that is good. But it's still fantastic for watching videos on planes. So I have I can download videos into it, and then watch stuff on planes that way, which is fantastic. But I also I just use it for general internet browsing stuff when I don't want to be using a full computer. It's nice for that when you don't want a full computer. And I have my like note-taking apps on here for where I keep track of my video ideas and the scripts and stuff. So I use it for that kind of stuff. Email, just general stuff. Shopping, I definitely browse Amazon on it quite a bit. But the yep, I would say that's my daily use of the iPad. Not that I'm on planes every day anymore, but I used to be. Okay. I've got a SIM tool. I've got my phone. We can pop the SIM card out and do some tests. So, what do you want to see with the Speedify tests? Let's do some experiments. Let me first let's see, it's turned on. It is over here. And we can make a unlisted live stream and then start pushing a stream up to it and then mess with stuff. Oh, Grant's asking me, how do I get the ATEM Mini stands shipped to South Africa? Totally doable. The order from the, I believe the EU store is the one that's going to be the cheapest shipping because that's closest. But check the shipping rates between the EU and the Australia store. They both can ship to you, so it just depends on how much shipping is for those. Speedify with dual SIM. Oh, yeah. You had that question on Thursday. So do I have my dual SIM, though? Because I don't know if I actually have one active on here. This is my, oh, God, what's the app called? It's been so long since I've had to use this SIM, eSIM. It is called, oh my gosh, GigSky. Okay, that's what I've used. That's my eSIM that I use. So I don't have an active plan. Do I want to activate a plan for this? I think I don't. I think I want it because I have like a $10 credit on here. And I do have plans to travel in a month, crossing fingers. So actually what I'm going to do is save it for that. I'm going to, when I have that active, I can try then. That'll probably do it. Yeah. Okay. So sorry, not doing that today. We are going to instead go over to the YoloBox and try that out with the SIM card, the real SIM card in my phone, and then we can do some testing of breaking the network connection and seeing what happens. Okay. First, what I want to do is configure my network to be able to throttle that device. So I've got it plugged in over Ethernet. We're going to use Ethernet and we're going to use, we can use Ethernet and Wi-Fi. I don't even need my cell phone for that. Cool. Okay. So in my router, I'm going to go and find the YoloBox. How do I find the YoloBox in here? Is there anything called YoloBox? I might need to go find its IP address first. Okay, so we're going to go over to the table. Go over to the table. That's weird. Speaking of breaking things. Oh, good times. So I rearranged all my buttons on my companion, and I forgot that some of them are. This one has a action which is push a button on the page, which moved. So I need to. What was 28? What was at 28? I think it was this. So that is now 27. So I need to move this to 27 and that to 27. And then why didn't my... Oh, that's why I didn't. Okay, here we go. That is what I wanted to happen. And the audio switched over. Fantastic. So what I want to do is now come over to... Now I want to come over to... Is this going to be like testing the UPS on a live stream? Not quite as bad. Not quite as bad. Oh, I do want my teleprompter to be the program output, so I can actually see what's going on the stream. My teleprompter should be the program out, which is this one, Web Presenter. Great. So now I can route my super source box 1 to this camera, and now you can see me again. Great. Okay. Back in business. So I'm missing a camera. You have this angle. Where did my overhead go? My overhead camera is missing, so let's fix that. Now we've got the overhead camera. Okay. So here we have the YoloBox, and I can go and see what network connections it knows about. Wi-Fi, primary, cellular, not available. Okay. So why is Ethernet not on? That should have been connected. There it is. Okay. Ethernet Wi-Fi. Does this tell me my IP address? It does. 10.11.45.114. So it's a great number. 45.114. And then I can tag it in here if I can find it. Here it is. Not going to show you the rest of the devices on my network, so you're not going to see what I'm doing. Sorry. I'm going to call it YoloBox Ethernet, and then the Wi-Fi is 4589. We're going to call that one YoloBox Wi-Fi. Okay, now I can search for these. Okay. So here we've got YoloBox Pro Ethernet. And what I can do is I can actually cap it to a megabit using my router. And we can do the same with the Wi-Fi. So I can rate limit this, and both of those connections should now be limited to a megabit. So if we do try to do a speed test right now from this, which we can do. That label is wrong. That's very annoying. If we do try to do a speed test on here, we should see it fail or see it be too slow. Only downside with the stand is that it makes the angle awkward for this top-down camera and for portrait mode, since I need this to be in portrait mode. And is this exposure okay? Can you actually see what's on that screen? No. Let's fix that too. There we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do first is turn off Speedify, and let's try just a speed test now, which it's going to use probably Ethernet. So let's go into the YOLO app. Let's go into create a live stream. And what I can do is I can do, once I open this up, there's a little, I saw somewhere, a speed test button. Where is it? Streaming mode direct. There's, I thought they had a speed test button. Platforms. Am I just making this up? Encoding. Weird. I swear I saw a speed test in here before. Yes, okay, here it is, in this one, network test. It just opens up the speed test website, that makes sense. So we should be throttled. Let's see if it's true. Oh my gosh. That is not, in fact, throttled. What is going on? YoloBox Pro Ethernet, we are getting 100 megabits a second, which is the limit of the Ethernet, which makes sense. So that didn't work. Is my device still syncing? Is my router still getting configured? Where is the router? Gateway. That's up to date. I was so sure I was able to throttle this thing using my fancy router. So Ethernet, network activity, let's try that again. Is that going to show me? Running the speed test. Still getting 91. It's definitely set to rate limit. Darn, okay. Backup plan. Backup plan is to try a different router. I think I can do that because I have I have one of those travel routers here somewhere. Is this worth the trouble? Is the keyboard trackpad connected to the YoloBox? No, it's these are connected to my Mac, so I can use the Mac still. I have plugged in a wired keyboard though. Okay, let's do it. I think it's worth it. So we're going to connect this instead of to my building network. We're going to connect it into the a little travel router. So these little things are great, and I'm going to plug that in. And this one, I'm pretty sure, has some rate limiting features also. So we're going to find out first if it does. I'm going to give it power. Did you rate limit Wi-Fi and Ethernet? Double check MAC address. Maybe it creates a virtual MAC. With Unify, you need to create a user group to limit network speed and add the device into that group. So that's... I thought I was being so clever. I created a network bandwidth profile, and I added the device to that bandwidth profile here. And I thought that was how you force it. So I could try to look for the user setting instead, but no, I don't even have that. I just have bandwidth profiles. I have port profiles too, but that's different. What is different? Somebody else mentioned you can do it from Speedify, which maybe that's the right way to do it. So if I go back into Speedify and then let's turn it on. So yeah, Ethernet. I do remember this with the daily cap. So let's rate limit. And maybe this is the right way to do it. Limit it to 1. Limit Wi-Fi. This is a cool feature of Speedify. Limit that to 1. And now, since Speedify is enabled, our speed test should... Oops, nope. This one, speed test. It did load a lot slower. We should see it cap out at 2 megabits here. Okay, there we go. That is doing what I want it to do. Close enough. Okay. It is funny that speed test is so slow to load. Apparently it needs more than 2 megabits a second to load that page fast. Okay, what are we going to do now that that's running? That's good. Now we've capped it. So when we do a stream, what we can do now is test the differences between the streaming modes. So, because this is something I haven't actually tried yet, is not the streaming modes, encoding settings. I haven't experimented with these different settings yet. So constant quality, constant bit rate, variable bit rate. If we are trying to push at a constant bit rate of 4 megabits, it should fail because we have capped it at 2. So let's first try that. And this is going to do something bad. We're going to go, I think I called this, this is the one problem with this little, this is the little, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little round icon that's for the launcher, but it gets in the way of that button, that layer button. This is the one I wanted. Connect it here. Let's make an unlisted live stream so I don't confuse everybody. I will drop a link to this live stream in the chat though. And if I can find it. So where is my live streams? Okay, here it is, unlisted. I'm going to drop it into the chat. This is the unlisted live stream for YoloBox box 4 megabit test rate limited to 2 megabits. And it's not live yet. So let's pull it up on the screen here and we can go live. And this should be an interesting demonstration of what happens when you are streaming with not enough bandwidth. Oh yeah, look at all the dropped. Wait, why is everything getting dropped? We're at 100%. 100% dropped. We shouldn't be at 100% dropped. Is it just completely failing because of that? Let's drop that down to 2 and try this again. Still getting all the dropped frames. And it's not pushing any data. So we're not seeing any video on it. Okay. Why are the drop frames going down? That's an interesting one. Let's stop that. Encoding setting. Let's go back. Let's go up to variable bitrate. Try that. If this doesn't work, we're going to have to unrate limit in Speedify. It's not showing that it's streaming anything yet. I should be seeing data up there. Sorry, this camera isn't like closer. No video being pushed over yet either. Okay. Is this a case of Speedify doing something awkward? It's not even seeing any data. So let's just go ahead and unrate limit this. Let's let Ethernet go wild. Okay. You should be getting sound though. Why is it? Oh, because I turned the volume down. Okay. And then platform, YouTube, it should not be limited. I might have to go back and make a new event. I think I messed this one up. Okay. New event. Create a live stream. Test. Probably should have called that something different. And go there, unlist it. It's going to be a new video URL. I'm going to have to delete all these on my channel when I'm done. Audio. Get it from HDMI 1. Encoding setting. Variable bitrate. This should just work. Wow, it really doesn't like Speedify today. What the heck is going on? Okay, let's kill that one. Let's kill that one. I told you this was just be messing everything up. This one's stuck. Oh, wow. Reboot. Okay. Turn on, off, and on the computer, I mean the YoloBox. Pretty much. Yeah, I am purposely making problems right now. I am trying to see what happens when I give it terrible situations. Okay. Also, remember, I've sideloaded Speedify onto it, which is not something you're supposed to do. Let's unlimit that. And Speedify is still on. Okay. This is that one that should be working. Can we go back to YouTube? No, this one's super confused about its YouTube. Let's see if we can end it. End that. Get out of here. Okay. New test. So we are going to push to YouTube, unlisted. I do wish I could run Speedify. I wish I could get the Speedify with this open and not have it like crash. Okay. Encoding setting. Let's do constant bitrate 4 megabits. And just try to stream this. We should have audio. I see audio levels. Great. Go live. And I will give you the new link because it's a new one. New test is here. New YoloBox test. And okay, it is going. It is in fact streaming. Now, Speedify is still on. Speedify is just, yeah, so here's the stream. Speedify is on, it's just not rate limiting. So apparently something is wrong with Speedify's rate limiting, which was the thing that I was trying, which is interesting to note. But also, I don't think I would want to use the rate limiting feature in Speedify normally. So we're live here. What I want to do now is get this little router connected because this one should have a rate limiting feature also. Oh, but hey, in the meantime, here's a good test of Speedify. I am pushing from the YoloBox over both connections, theoretically. If we go into the Speedify app to check, we can see which one it's using. Which means if I yank the Ethernet out, the stream shouldn't break. That is the theory, right? So if we look at the stream on YouTube, yeah, we're gonna look at the stream on YouTube, and I'm going to pull this out, and with any luck, we will see this wire on YouTube in a second, and the stream will still be running, and without any glitches, because Speedify should be bonding the two connections. Here we go, pulling it out, and it's up. Okay, that's good. So Speedify did let us fail over to the Wi-Fi when I yanked out the Ethernet cord. Good to know that at least that part of its job works. Okay, so next step is I'm going to plug in this little router and then try to find that on my network. But hey, that was a cool little test. So I should see it on my network. Oh, Eric. Thanks. Thanks for the super chat. This is the content I came to watch and convince about. Aaron's experimental lab is now on air. Oh, I like it. I think you just named the show. I think you just named the segment. So I have to go make a little graphic for it now, and then we can cut to that. Roll that before going into this segment. Cool. Love it. So I need to find my little travel router. I should be able to sort by uptime. See if it's in here. Is it this one? I think it's this one. GL Techno. That's an interesting name. Can I get to the web interface? No. Why are you not loading the web interface? I think that's the right IP. Maybe what I should do in the future is come with slightly more of a plan so I can set up some of this stuff ahead of time. Oh, it's probably not letting me get to the admin interface from the public side of the network. So I actually want to connect this iPad to its Wi-Fi. I think that's what I'm going to do. And yes, here is, what's the Wi-Fi password? Okay, I remembered it. So this should be at 192.168.8.1 if I remember correctly. It's possible I changed it. Why? Is it set up in like pass-through mode? Why is it giving me an IP on my building network? Let's unplug that connection. And it should have given me... Maybe I should just hard reset the whole thing. We're going to do that. I don't even remember what's on this router. Okay, there it goes. Rebooting. Hard reset. Let's start over. And we will connect it. Pat says the experimentation and troubleshooting is the best part of the show. I've learned more about Companion just by watching build buttons and triggers. Well, thanks. Hopefully this is somewhat interesting, even if it is going to be just a lot of getting this little router set up. But hey, this thing is very cool. And this will hopefully be a good demo of why I like these. This one is the get back to my companion buttons. This is the GL.iNet AR750 there we go. It's only $50 too. GL.iNet AR750. Cool little thing. So, okay, I think it's probably booted up by now. So let's see if we can find the Wi-Fi. Oh, I see the lights turning on. That must mean it's finally booting up. Oh, this will be interesting because I can keep this thing streaming the whole time and just swap it over to that network and see how that goes. There we go. GL, what is the password? Good life. Okay, now it's connected. 192.168.8. That's what I wanted to see. So I can go over to here and hopefully load up the admin page for the router. There we go. New password. Well, let's just set it to good life. Don't hack my router. Good life is not allowed in the password. It's too smart for me. We're gonna call it green screen. Okay, here we're in. And what I want to do is plug in the YoloBox. This thing doesn't have internet right now either because I dropped the Wi-Fi on the ground. So YoloBox gets internet from here. It's going to not have internet. It's another good test. What happens if the YoloBox has a network connection, but this does not have internet yet? So hopefully this stays streaming. Someone who's got the stream open in that other window, let me know if it stops. But I guess I would probably also see some drop frames there. Okay, so that showed up here. Wired device. That makes sense. And here's my iPad on the wireless. The wired device is 8.213. I can block it, for example, but I want to rate limit, which I know is a thing in here. I know it's in here. Network mode. Router, yes. Advanced. I can't scroll and tap it. Let me tap it. Ah, that's annoying. Their web interface is not meant for iPads. Okay. Oh, that's where you go into like the router. No, I don't want that. Internet. Tethering, no. Clients. I didn't see any settings here. Real-time traffic and speed stats. That's just to see it. Oh, here we go. Can I set? Okay, there we go. Got the real-time stats. Can I? Aha, we can speed limit it. This is what I want to see. So I can cap the speed to a megabit. So let's say 2 megabits. And download. So cool, and we should be able to monitor it here as well. So I need to give this internet, so let me go plug it in, which is down here. This one is the live internet connection, which I'll plug in here. And we should now, in the interface here, it should recognize it's got a cable. Yep, it got an IP from my building. And now the YoloBox has network through here. Okay, so this thing is still streaming. I still see no drop packets. That is progress. We should see some traffic here. It is... I don't know what Speedify is doing. That's the one thing we can't see right now is what Speedify is actually using for the connection. We don't know if it's using Wi-Fi or Ethernet yet. What I want to do next is get this thing off of Wi-Fi. And unfortunately, we can't leave the YoloBox interface in order to like go into the settings and disable Wi-Fi. But that's actually gives us an opportunity to simulate what happens if your Wi-Fi connection actually drops. Because I am 98% sure that I can go into my Wi-Fi, my Unify system and block the YoloBox from Wi-Fi. So let's try that. Let's go into my Unify. I need another iPad. I can't not have my buttons. Where's my, geez, no, do not launch Zoom. I want my companion on this iPad. .11.200.40 slash, what was it called? Emulator? Oh, thanks, Hardy Media. My vote for Eric Lighter's idea for a show name. Excellent. Wait, I have to go look that up. Here's my emulator. Now I can control the show. Thank you for that. What was Eric's? Oh yeah, Aaron's experimental lab. Excellent. Thank you. Why does your GL.iNet have a Mobius strip with feet? That's my logo for my side business. I was doing the conference recording. It's a little, I think I did get this from Fiverr, but I had, come on. What's going on? There we go. It is a bicycle. It goes this way. It's a bicycle with a little film reels inside of it, because I take my video gear on my bike for those gigs. That is the reason. For some reason, this iPad is not letting me press the emulator buttons after I press one of them, which is incredibly frustrating. I don't know how to feel about that. Why are the colors on the other stream different? That is an interesting question. I didn't actually notice. How different are they? Let's see if we can do this side by side. Apparently after every button press, I have to... Oh, they are a little bit different. The other stream is the YoloBox encoding it. So it is the same camera being fed into that encoder and the YoloBox, and then the YoloBox is doing that stream that's on YouTube. So that is the difference. Okay. Okay, so where were we? We were, this thing is streaming. Oh my gosh, I need the actual Stream Deck over here. I can't handle these buttons. This thing is streaming now, splitting between Ethernet and Wi-Fi. And theoretically, oh yeah, I can actually see it's showing me 300 kilobytes a second is what this router is showing me it's sending over Ethernet. So the theory is if I go into my router and then turn off the Wi-Fi. So let's go here. Oh my God. Okay, this is maddening. Let's go over to my router here. Here's the YoloBox on Wi-Fi, and I should be able to, yeah, block it from the Wi-Fi. I'm hoping that works. I don't understand why this doesn't work, but we're going to go and just block it from the Wi-Fi. It will take a minute because it's it has to go send that command to the router to actually go and configure it before it will take effect. But we should at some point see the traffic here over the wire connection go up quite a bit. So after that signal is blocked and this thing loses its Wi-Fi connection, Speedify should be keeping track of everything, keeping it running, and this usage should go up. So I don't know how long it's going to take. I guess I can check my router. Uh-oh. Why did my computer get booted off of Wi-Fi? That's an interesting one. Hopefully I didn't just completely ruin all of my streams. I was changing my actual router that's pushing this actual stream to YouTube, so that's always good. Oh, I think it had to go push a config out to the Wi-Fi access point. I think that's what's happening. Come on. It's still about the same, 600 kilobytes. I still see no drop frames on the YoloBox. Both streams are up. Good. Unify resets the access point when it does that. Okay. So that's why my computer lost its Wi-Fi. But I should be able to get to the Unify. Oh, that's the wrong tab. No, that's not working. Geez, I'm looking at the wrong tab thinking, like, why is my network down? But I should see my devices not pending updates. Okay, so they've been pushed. Config has been pushed. So theoretically, the YoloBox is not on the network anymore. Let's see if we can confirm that by looking at the YoloBox here in the oh, geez. Come on. Yeah, YoloBox Pro Ethernet is offline and the Wi-Fi is not even showing up anymore. So it is totally blocked, which means we should be running this YoloBox stream exclusively off of the Ethernet now. So it is, oh, interesting. It's saying, I don't know if you can see it. It says 1 megabit per second up here, but then over here it's saying 4. I don't know what those numbers are from. I think that's the OS. No, that's YoloBox app reporting numbers. So that's something. And we're in constant bitrate 4 megabits. Okay, so we have switched over to... We have switched over to here. Oh yeah, because I capped this, right? That was the whole point of this. Was I capped this to 2. I just wanted to I want to confirm this is not on Wi-Fi. I think in order to do that, I have to switch out of this app in order to do that. So we are going to pause the test stream so I can get out of here to make sure that we're not on Wi-Fi. I'm just going to let it freak out. So we're going to go into Speedify and see what Speedify thinks about this. And Wi-Fi, in fact, is not available. So it did get kicked off. Let's see if I can get back to it. Oh, look at the history. Saved by connection failover. And seamless failovers 1 now. Today. Cool. So let's see if I can get back into YoloBox before everything gets messed up. Is it going to let me open, resume? Is it still streaming? I see it's actually, I can see on the computer screen it's still up. That's interesting. And the app does not think it's streaming. So this is why I said don't leave the app while you're streaming, because it gets really confused. And now the stream finally just froze. Okay, so if I hit go live, what happens? is it going to pick it up on YouTube? Or does YouTube think it's totally dead? This is the freeze frame. I also don't really know why it's up in the corner, but that's because the screen rotated, I think. These are the weird things that happen when you are doing things that are not supported by these devices. It is not going anywhere, I can tell. Okay, so we cannot...
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. Take a look at the help section in your Alexa app.
Thanks, robot. Things are not happy in this room since I ticked that box. That's a little concerning. Audio is still going, but with freeze frame, I think it froze when you went back to the YoloBox app. Yep. Okay. So yeah, don't do that. Don't leave the YoloBox app when a live stream is running if you've installed that little app switcher. Now we know exactly what happens. I knew something bad was going to happen. Is that an Arduino on the screen or a Raspberry Pi in disguise? It's actually a GL.iNet router. The stream has now officially ended. So I can... Oh yeah, the audio is in fact still going. That's interesting. Okay. What I want to do now is, now that we know that the router is... now I'm worried about why Alexa lost its Wi-Fi. Shut up. We know...
Take a look at the help section in your Alexa app.
Yes, we know. We know this is limiting to 2 megabits a second. So what I want to do now is one more stream and try to push something bigger up. And now we can experiment with those settings. Open that. Push to YouTube. New unlisted video. So I'm going to have to give you a new URL in the chat. And what is going on with my Wi-Fi? It's a good thing all my gear is wired in. YouTube is ready. We're going to change the encoding setting to... So that's interesting. We were streaming at what it thought was 4, but it was only able to push up 2, and it actually only said it was pushing about 600 megabits a second, according to the iPad over here. This is the web interface for this router. So let's try bumping it to... Let's try letting it do a variable bit rate at 4 and see what happens. Because it was saying it was encoding at 4. Oops, wrong window. I need to find you the new live stream. What did I call it? Did you see that refresh? I think it's also like my iPad's getting kicked off of the Wi-Fi. I should apparently not mess with my Unify settings. Okay, now we're back to totally dropped and it's not able to start the stream. Why is that? Why is that? Why is it doing that? So if we go into Speedify, what does Speedify think? It sees Ethernet. It's pushing something. Do I have a phantom stream going? I think I totally messed up I think I totally messed it up by switching the active tab. Yeah, I think I need to restart this. We're going to do that. Okay, while that's restarting, let me take a look at the chats. Yeah, Ethernet bandwidth is limited through the router, but I wasn't streaming and it was saying it was pushing 2 megabits up. So I think there was a process running that it lost track of. So we're going to restart that. Whole box. And can it look at your client list on the Unify to see if anything is connected? Well, I can see my iPad is connected, but it keeps cycling. It just did it again. It keeps cycling out. Yeah, super weird. Okay, this thing is back up. So the let's see, network settings, Ethernet mobile. Let's go into Speedify and see what's going on. Speedify. Okay, got Ethernet. It is not pushing any data. I think we had a phantom. I think that encoder process was still pushing data up to the old YouTube stream. That's what was going on. So that makes sense. Good. We have only Ethernet, which means we're only going through this router, and now we can see what happens if we are rate limiting the streams. So we're going to go back to YoloBox. We're going to try to push a 4 megabit. This is what I wanted to see. I want to see what happens with a variable bitrate stream when you don't have enough bandwidth for that stream. So we're going to try to push a 4 megabit stream, but we're only able to push 2. And we only have one internet connection, even though we're using Speedify still. That doesn't matter. So YouTube, unlisted, go live, and I will give you that link in a second. Oh, Graham is saying this is a good point. Is your iPad switching between your building Wi-Fi and it? That is actually probably what's happening. It's probably switching over to the... Oh no, because I reset the SSID, so it shouldn't have remembered it. Yeah, it's not set to auto join that. It should just be on the studio network. Super weird. All right, this is going. Let me go grab that URL for you. And I don't see any drop frames. That is good. I see it is encoding at 4 megabits. Here is the unlisted video, new YoloBox test. Okay. And it's going. How does it look? It looks fine. Maybe a little bit soft, actually. Yep. So it's encoding at 4. I can see it's only pushing 1 up here, and then over here it is... this is telling me it's pushing like 600 megabits a second. So what happens if we throttle this down even more? Oops. What happened to my QoS? Wired device. Let's cap it to 300 kilobits. Did my QoS get reset when I unplugged the wire? That's interesting. Now, can we cap it? Can we throttle it down to 300 megabits? And then see what happens to the YoloBox stream. This is going down a little bit. Oh, now we're getting drop frames. Look at that. Okay. Progress is being made. Progress is being made. We are, in fact, seeing drop frames because it does not have enough bandwidth. Yeah, and this is saying that it's capped at its limit. It's down to like, it's only pushing 300. That's good. That's what we wanted to see. Now we've got the rate limit on there. That's what that is saying. Excellent. And really bad drop frames. Okay. This is what happens at, we are at the variable bitrate. And I can actually see also on the YouTube stream, it is stuttering. Like, look at the, it's getting some, and then it pauses, and it's going to pick up again. So that's because I've limited it to about half of the bandwidth that it needs. Okay, good. So that is progress. What's the next thing to try? That's variable bitrate, capping down to 300 megabits a second. So not much bandwidth at all. So let's pause this. And let's go and change the encoding mode here. Come on. It's really struggling with the bandwidth limit. Also remember that it's trying to encode a 4 megabit target, and it's being capped. It's being limited. Yeah, please check the network connection. Okay, can I do this, or does it think it's still going? Okay, it figured out that it paused. Let's do variable bitrate down to 2, and see if it can do better with a lower target. And we should be paused on YouTube, but not ended. So let's go live at here. Oh, it picked up again. Okay, great. So here we are on YouTube. And this is targeting a 2 megabit stream. So if we look back at the YoloBox, and now we can see it is actually trying to encode 2 megabits. It is still being capped to 300 at the router. So that's still active at the router. And we don't have any drop frames. So this is good to know. With a lower target stream, it's able to handle the worst network connections. Now it looks choppy. Let me take a look at this. I need some better. I need to actually play back like a clip or something into the YoloBox instead of having my actual video here. There's a lot of artifacts in that. Like it's not a good quality stream, but that's because we've crushed it down to squeaking out a live stream at 300 megabits a second. But like I can see some very ugly compression going on everywhere, but it makes sense because there's barely any data for it. So it's doing a pretty good job, all things considered, actually, like considering how little bandwidth it actually has, which is 300 megabits a second again. Very interesting. So yeah, it is now smooth. It is 4 seconds delay. It makes sense because I didn't set the. I'm curious what. I am curious what delay this is set to in YouTube, because the YouTube live streaming studio, that wasn't the right one. The YouTube live studio will tell us what setting it's in. I normally stream this stream at ultra low latency, which is only a couple of seconds delayed. Oh yeah, this one's at normal latency. So that's why that stream is just more delayed, because it's not even trying at a, it's not even in the low latency setting. So, okay, good progress. We now have a idea of what a 300 megabit per second stream looks like. Graham says, wouldn't it be good if somebody had made a video clip that can be played to test things like this? I should just go load that into my hyperdeck. Okay. So the YoloBox, I should run a second HDMI into the YoloBox. Oops, where is it? There it is. I wonder what's in G. We're going to find out. Oh, it was the right one. Look at that. Okay. So I've got the test, my little test clip here, which is going to do quite a number on this at 300 megabits a second. So let's find out what it looks like. Very challenging clip. And in a second, we should see pop up over here. This is my stress test at 300 megabits a second. Oh, yeah. It's just mud. It's really bad. I mean, that's to be expected. But you know what's interesting is that there's actually very few frame drops. Like if you look at, this is why I have the ticker at the bottom, because you can watch the chase and it's getting, well, spoke too soon. It's doing a pretty good job of actually not losing individual frames. It is compressing the heck out of the colors, and you know it's turning into mud up here, but the motion is reasonably smooth, which is good. So yeah, this is again the purpose of this clip, which it is linked down below if you want to get them. But the purpose of this clip is to push video encoders to their absolute limits and also be able to see color ranges and stuff. So like we've got the full black to white color range. We've got this little gradient where you'll see the little MP4 squares appearing. This is 1 pixel static noise tracks that are chasing, and it's just completely disappeared here. Everything in here is designed to test some different aspect of video encoders. So it's doing a surprisingly good job considering what we've done to it. So let's switch over to a different setting. So I'm going to go pause this one. And we should see this number drop when it actually is paused. Yep, stream paused over there. So let's go into the encoding setting, and yeah, that dropped. Let's switch over to constant quality. And let's see how this one behaves on our terrible network connections. Back over here, ready, and let's switch back to here for now. Go live, give it a little bit of an easier time to start with. Constant quality, it's targeting 2 megabits. We should see this pick up again in a second. I see the stream popped up. There we go, 300 megabits again. Graham says the stats for nerds on the second stream shows very few dropped frames. Ooh, interesting. That means there's 2 different things going on. Let me go over to here. I forgot about that stats for nerds. Where is that? Gosh, I forgot how to get to it. Apparently I'm not a nerd. How do you get to stats for nerds? It used to be like, I thought it used to be in here. Whoops. Well, somebody will tell me how to get to that. The point was, let me switch over to the test clip. If YouTube is telling us that there are very few dropped frames, but we're seeing more dropped frames, then what that means is that the dropping is happening essentially like in the encoder. Okay, so here we are. Now we're giving it the most challenging clip ever, and it is not happy. Okay, it's stuttering. Oh, but look how crisp it is. Okay, this is the big difference between the two modes. Check this out. See how you can see the static? And everything is suddenly super clean, right? You can see this picture. You can see all the clean lines. There's no blurring of the boxes. This is their constant quality mode. So it's trying to keep the stream going at that quality, but it can't because we're capping it to 300 kilobits a second. So it's only squeaking out a few frames at a time at that quality. So that means if you know you have terrible network conditions, you are far better off to not use constant quality. Far better off in, for example, variable bitrate or constant bitrate. Now I don't remember the difference between the two in terms of the effect it had. So maybe we should test that again. We were looking at variable bitrate before, and it was fine. So let's take a look at constant bitrate next. But this is interesting. This is really interesting. It is really, really not. It's unusable, essentially. It's completely unusable. Okay. So we're going to go back to, we're going to pause that stream. Right-click on the video. Thank you. Okay, waiting for this thing to catch up. Let's go back over to here to not freak it out too much. Switch over to constant bitrate and then try a stream again. Okay, caught up and go live. Same stream. This is the other interesting thing to note here is that this whole time I'm now using the same YouTube stream. So let's go over to SuperSource. And it's caught up. This is back on this camera. Here are the stats for nerds. 62 dropped. So that was from before, I guess. And let's just keep an eye on that 62 number. And again, we're still capping our overall stream to 300 megabits a second, is what this is at. 300 megabits, 300 kilobytes a second. And we're going to go and switch to the test clip and then switch over to look at the stream on YouTube and see how it does. This is in constant bit rate. So look at the motion. It's very, very close. Okay, so we are seeing skips. See how we're seeing skips in the dot moving? We don't see it over every number, but we're not getting drop frames on YouTube. So it's doing something to compensate for that. I'm also not seeing dropped frames on the YoloBox itself. The YoloBox is saying it's fine, and I can see all of the chase hitting every number across here in this view. So it's what I'm curious about, and this is a good question for Frank, is this whole time this number up here in the corner has been saying about 2 megabits a second. You know, whether or not I'm on this view or the other view, or whether or not the what mode we're in, I've seen it basically be the same number, even when it is not able to push that number to YouTube. Because this is the number that we're seeing that is the upload, like what the YoloBox is actually uploading at. And which is also, I'm confused about why it's saying 600 when it says 300 over here, but we'll just roll with that. The interesting thing is that this must be like the encoder bitrate or something rather than the actual stream. So if I go back to that test clip and then we watch what it does on YouTube, then it, yeah, big difference in the two modes, right? All of this is all complete blurry, but we get the motion. And this is actually now something you can look at and you're not just like, why am I seeing 2 or 3 frames every couple of seconds? So that is interesting. That is some good tests, stress tests of the YoloBox encoder. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. What is the dashboard you have on the iPad? That is the web interface to my travel router. So the travel router that we set up a second ago, this is the one where I can do rate limiting on it that actually works apparently and not messing up my entire studio Wi-Fi. So this is the thing that's doing the rate limiting. This iPad is just connected to this router, and this is the web interface for that router. So it's just showing me, I had zoomed in so you could see it, but it's showing me the IP address and the MAC address of the YoloBox connected to it over Ethernet, and I just had zoomed into the speed section so you can see how fast the router is reporting the data. Yeah, so cool. That was an interesting little comparison of the different encoding modes on the YoloBox, which I guess is what we learned from that. That means that the constant quality one is the most risky to use. And you really only want to use that if you know you have a good quality network environment that is not likely to have stuttering. Throttling down a stable connection with a fast ping doesn't compare to a real-world scenario. For example, when you have 2 LTE connections varying on the limit of what they can handle. I know, it's hard to simulate actual network glitches. I would need more tools to do that properly, but this is definitely more of a real test compared to the videos I've done about this so far here, where I'm just in my network where I have very good Wi-Fi. Cool, okay. That was a good test of that. I'm gonna have to figure out how to timestamp that so that people can sort of find that information. But we do know now that constant quality really does try to keep the quality of the picture as clean as possible at the expense of dropping frames, whereas constant bitrate and variable bitrate actually didn't seem to have much of an effect in terms of how they handled the poor network conditions. But both of them compromise the picture quality while keeping the motion, which looks like a much better end result. Especially because in reality, you don't have pictures that need this much detail. You have pictures like this, where it's okay if the background is extra blurry or has square chunks instead of smooth gradients, because it's fine. Next week, can we do a similar test with an ATEM streaming over a throttle connection? Yeah, totally. We can do that. I can bring out another ATEM here connected to the same router, so we have at least a constant there, and see what happens there as well. I think it's better to use Speedify on an external device. I think I would also agree. If I could install Speedify on this thing, I would, but it doesn't run on these things. I am planning on doing a tutorial on installing it on a Raspberry Pi, which is about the same size. You would need an extra Ethernet adapter to make that work, but totally doable. And I think that's a much better solution. And one of the reasons is because, as you can see, the big problem with using it on the YoloBox is that I can't go to the app in the stream, so I can't change any settings or monitor it. So I'm stuck here with the sort of just counting on Speedify working here the whole time. And I can't go monitor it. So if it was on a different device, at least I could go and pull up that device, whether it's a web interface or a command line for the Raspberry Pi or whatever, and monitor Speedify that way. But it is cool that it can be built in. If they would add it as a little app down here, like we have the comments and the scoreboard and all that, then... Wait, are you all commenting on both videos? Is that what's happening? Yeah, you are. Okay, cool. If Speedify were built in to the YoloBox software, which is doable because they have an SDK, then we would get it as an icon here. So like instead of settings, we can go over to like a Speedify tab. That would be cool because then we would get to monitor Speedify from within the YoloBox app, and I would be much more comfortable with that as a solution. So everybody should go file a feature request for building Speedify into the YoloBox app, and maybe they will do it. Okay, cool. That was a fun test. I think we're going to be done now because I need to go figure out what's wrong with my Wi-Fi now because I broke it apparently. And it's been a long stream. So let me know what you think about this new format of, what are we going to call it? We are going to call it Aaron's Experimental Lab. And we will go and do some experiments after the main part of the show and try to break stuff and see how these different things handle less than ideal situations, because that is always interesting. And next week, maybe we'll try it with the ATEM Mini. I think that's a good plan. Oh, thank you for Alexa. Still unhappy over there. Thank you for the super chat. I don't know if you can hear that over the microphone. Hopefully not. Okay, gotta go unbreak my network. Thank you all for joining. And let's see. Let's go wrap up. No, we can wrap up here. Thanks everybody for joining, and thank you for all the super chats. That is always appreciated. And we are going to be back here, same time, same place next week. I don't have any plans for surprise live streams during the week, but you never know. Hopefully I'll have some more stuff to show you next week. And yeah, I like the idea of let's test out an ATEM and throttle its network and see what happens. And see if we can mess it up and see how it handles the stress test clip that I've got loaded up here. All right. Thank you everybody for joining. It's not an experimental lab unless you break the Wi-Fi. Or Aaron's trial and error is good too. Thanks, Chris. It was fun to watch. I mean, Aaron breaking his own stuff. Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. Show us how you unbroke your network. We will see about that next week. See if I can figure it out. All right. Thanks, and I will see you again later. If I can... Gotta go unbreak my Wi-Fi so this end button works. Okay, bye. Come on.